pro-abortion protesters already delivering on their promise to target churches on this Mother's Day weekend.
Thank God for abortion. Thank God for abortion. Thank God.
Wow. Well, many on the left, as you're seeing, melting down over this leaked Supreme Court draft opinion that signals the justices could overturn Roe v. Wade in the upcoming Dobbs decision. That draft dates back to February, but it remains unclear if the court will actually overturn Roe. Justice Clarence Thomas says the Supreme Court will not be intimidated, telling the 11th Circuit Judicial Conference this, quote, "We can't be an institution that can be bullied into you just getting the outcomes that you want. The events from earlier this week are a symptom of that." So, Tammy, I want to start with you as we broaden out this conversation. I mean, look, I think a lot of the abortion debate involves winning hearts and minds. I'm not sure interrupting, church services or vandalizing houses of worship.
You nut really guy, Benson. You're a nut.
Yeah, it's not going to really work, I think, for a lot of Americans. We've also heard this from the White House. Jen Psaki tangled a little bit with our colleague Peter Doocy just earlier in the week about this, and then doubled down yesterday aboard Air Force One, saying basically the President Biden, doesn't have a view on whether or not protesters ought to show up at the private homes of Supreme Court justices. Watch this.
The president believes in peaceful protest. He believes that's part of our democracy and part of the history of the United States and this country. But he also respects and understands the independence of the third branch of government and, obviously the Justice Department, but also the role of the Supreme Court and what they play. So I wouldn't say he has a view on that.
So he's agnostic on this question of whether or not activists should agitate at people's houses.
Yeah.
Tammy, I mean, this should be a layup for the White House to just say, okay, look, there are certain lines that shouldn't be crossed. This is one of them, and they're not doing it.
Well, they're not, but as a result, they are saying do it, right? I mean, this is permission by what's omitted, and they know it. They're not saying this is wrong, even though on its face it's wrong. It's also a crime. Whether it's peaceful or not, it's a crime to go and protest or parade in front of a justice's home or at a court with the intent of influencing the decisions or the actions of that judge. So this is very, very clear. They know it's clear. They're saying they don't have an opinion on if you're going to break the law. And, those are people's lives perhaps could be ruined. But in the meantime, this is, of course, as we know, look, my activism on the left began with abortion rights. My opinion on this has shifted dramatically in the decades in which I was doing this. This is not the 70s or the 80s or even the 90s. The Supreme Court does not make law. This is about the nature of a decision about the Constitution. States have their own laws. They have their own cultures that the people in California are going to be fine. There are some states that have other laws that are on a trigger if Roe versus Wade was changed. But my goodness, you guys, the left is constantly complaining about old men judges and people who are conservatives on courts. This is the way to remove this issue from the hands of a few unelected people back into the hands of the people of their states. The majority of voters are women in this country. This puts it right back where you have the most influence, which is with your state legislatures, and you can solve this problem forever. And yet the left and the right, the extremes on both sides, don't want that because there's too much money to be made. And this kind of thing, they love dragging people around by their ears. As a former feminist and as a person who understands the importance of the privacy issue and the independence of women's lives, what they're doing now is an outrage. It's an embarrassment to all of us. That threatening justices has nothing to do with abortion and everything to do with striking at the foundation of this nation and our institutions.
Now, I would note that the Roe decision back in 1973 was rendered by 7 men. All right, so we sort of get into those games sometimes, but I guess it's fine for men to weigh in on this other times. Charlie, Tammy was just talking about breaking the law. On that front, I caught up with Bill Barr, the former U.S. Attorney General, on my radio show just yesterday, and he says not only did the person who leaked this draft opinion do something very unethical and appalling, he believes, and this I think matters, it carries weight coming from him, he believes the leaker broke the law and should be in jail. Listen.
I think that it's a crime. It was done. It appears to have been done, and I think eventually it'll be shown to have been done in order to derail the opinion and upset the deliberations of the court. And so I think ultimately it belongs in the criminal justice side of things, and the person who did this should go to jail.
All right, Charlie. So your reaction, first of all, to that, and secondly, just on the discussion we were having with Tammy, I wonder if Jen Psaki over at the White House, at least for now, would she be so nonchalant if a right-wing group posted her personal home address for people to go out and protest? You know, she'd be like, oh, well, you know, we don't really have a view on that. I think they might have a view on that, Charlie.
Well, exactly. They would be, I mean, it would be all anybody would be talking about if people on the left had been doxxed in this manner and these kinds of threats were being made to people on the left. It's very hard to improve on anything that you just said, Tammy. But I think you're exactly right. The idea that the White House doesn't have an opinion on law breaking tells you everything you need to know about the administration's position, not only in this case in particular, but sort of their larger view of lawfulness in terms of, you know, when it comes to a fight that they want to win. They don't care. They don't care about justice. They just care about winning. And I think that that's becoming increasingly clear. The other thing that I think is important to also remember, because obviously, you know, not only do we have a court case, the court decision coming up, but we'll also have an election in another 6 months after, and a few months after that. 6 months, I think, from tomorrow. And the important thing about that is, you know, as Tammy said, it's going to go to the voters, and the voters are going to get to make their decision. And a lot of Democrats, the hot take right after this draft opinion leaked among Democrats was this was going to energize Democrat voters. It may. I think it's going to probably energize a little bit of everybody for a lot of various reasons. But I could tell you this kind of behavior from the far left, picketing justices' homes, and as you talked to Justice Judge Barr about, AG Barr about, it is against the law. It's absolutely against the law, but also politically speaking, it's disgusting. And when you have protesters going around chanting, "Thank God for abortion," and my all-time favorite, "Abortion saves lives," that kind of thing is increasingly going to turn off voters and become a big issue in November. And I don't think it's going to turn the way Democrats are predicting it will.
Well, and on that point, Aisha, quickly, there was a Fox News poll taken right before this all leaked, and Republicans were up 7 points on the generic ballot heading into November. A new CNN poll was taken after the leak, and Republicans are up 7 points on the generic ballot in that poll. Maybe this isn't the needle-moving game changer that some on the left have been predicting.
Yeah, I'm not convinced yet, Guy, that this is going to be the galvanizing moment for Democrats to be able to gain that voter enthusiasm that they so desperately want in November. And I'll just point to a tweet really quickly by Senator Chris Murphy, who tried this just today by alluding to this case and then writing this: Democrats should loudly run on the mean-spirited, dangerous right-wing turn of the GOP starting now. And Guy, here are just some of the responses from apparently Democrats. They say, or maybe actually use the power you were given in the last election. And another one writes, November is months away. We need to know what the plan is right now. And I think that's the problem, is voters don't really know what the plan is right now for Democrats. They're going to struggle mightily to try to codify Roe. They won't be able to blow up the filibuster to be able to do that. And I think Charlie's right. It's going to be a hard sell. We're 6 months away, and you and I know in politics that is forever. A lot could happen in the next 6 months.
Yep. And the bill that they're pushing, the Democrats in Congress, is unlimited abortion on demand through 9 months, which is just really radical and wild and out there. So, look, we'll be watching. The election is months away. I love this idea that it's like a novel concept. Oh, maybe the Democrats should just call the Republicans nasty names. That'll finally work for them. They've never tried that before.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.